Okay, it's the next morning and all the veggies are done. In addition to the cabbage that was done yesterday, I shredded some carrot in the food processor, chopped onion also in the food processor, and some garlic. Probably about, really only 2 cloves of garlic for this amount. You can do whatever you like, but that's typically what I do. So this is what everything looks like. Pretty, eating the rainbow. And then I've got my supplies ready. I've got my whole cabbage leaves that are clean. I buy the freeze-dried dill. I mean, it is January now here in St. Louis, so this seems to work good. And I put a good heaping tablespoon or more of the dill into this mixture. I've got a gallon ball jar ready for the veggies. For this amount of cabbage, I'm dissolving 3 tablespoons of, well, this just happens to be the Himalayan salt. Sea salt is fine. You don't want to use table salt, anything with a chemically treated. So good quality salt dissolved in 2 cups of water. When I ferment, I use my trusty Caldwell starter. 6 packs in a box, and I will use 1 package. After I get done with this, I'm going to dissolve this 1 package of the Caldwell starter. I have 1 cup of water in this bowl, and you just kind of stir it around. I'll just use the end of this wooden spoon. Let it dissolve and let it sit 8 to 10 minutes. It activates all those healthy, bacterias that you need to ferment and to culture your veggies. The package, Caldwell's instructions say, don't let it sit longer than that before we add it all into the veggies. I'm going to pause this in a minute, and I will get mixing in the sink, and you can watch that. Okay, so now I'm ready. I've got just the stuff stirred together with a spoon, and I'm going to add my liquids, my activated Caldwell's here, and the dissolved salt. Takes a lot longer for the salt to dissolve, so I usually get that going ahead of time. But this has been about 8 or 9 minutes activating in here, the Caldwell's. And I did want to mention, always use filtered water. You don't want to use the chlorinated, and God forbid anything with fluoride in it. So I don't have a water purifier, so I just buy spring water. So I'm going to go ahead and add my Caldwell's in there. And just to make sure I get every bit of good bacteria out of that bowl. I'll put the salt water in, got it all in together. A little bit of salt left in there. And also, the nice thing about doing this a day ahead in Missouri, the temperatures are cold enough that this cabbage was able to just sit out covered in the garage, because and it stayed perfectly fine. In the winter, I happen to have an extra fridge, down in the basement, so it was fine there. But if you don't, you may not want to do it ahead of time. Now, you're just wanting to really get everything coated with the salt water and the Caldwell's, and I'm really squishing this cabbage together using my muscles and kneading it down. And I'll do this for probably 3 minutes, and the salt will draw out the natural juices in the vegetables and will add to your brine. And if needed, when I do get this packed into my fermenting jars, I can add more spring water on to the top of it. But usually this is going to greatly reduce in volume by the time I'm done taping this. And there's plenty of brine, but sometimes I do have to add more. It's not an exact science. So. And of course, when you ferment It's done anaerobically without the presence of air, which is why the veggies always have to be submerged and underneath the brine. And I use, of course, cover it with the cabbage leaves, squish it way down, and then to keep it weighted down, I end up using this stone, lovely stone to weight things down. They have things you can buy on Amazon, but that works fine with me. I'll just slip it in a baggie or something like that, but it's clean. It's even gone through the dishwasher. So I'm going to keep kneading this for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and you'll see how much the volume has gone down. It's already going down a little and I'm getting juices. Okay, so as you can see, these veggies have, gosh, reduced by half in volume as far as being squished down. I will probably have to add some spring water to the jars just to increase that brine level. And as I said, I will use this gallon jar, and if I have any left over, it will go into a smaller jar. And the reason I make this quantity is because this is a lot of work and only want to do it once a month. We have a little bit of this every day, sometimes twice a day, and sometimes it's just like a couple tablespoons with each meal, and that's plenty to, you know, help us digest our food, to, you know, to keep a healthy gut and keep everything in balance. So I did also want to mention, I lied about the dill. With this amount, I ended up putting in close to 3 tablespoons of that dill. You know, sometimes you just look at it, you eyeball it. I never really measure anything, but it was definitely close to 3 tablespoons for this amount of cabbage. So, of course, you can season any way you like and with different seasonings, but this is the way we really like it, and I know it's the way Milo and Wesley like it too. So, I will come back with another video of putting it in the jars and packing it and all that good stuff, and then we're done.